This is what we're going to be making. This is one I made earlier. It is, oh, can you see that? There we go. It's a Momento board. Hi Sarah, hi sis, thanks for joining. Okay, and what you will need to make your memo board is a piece of cork board. This one was taken from just a regular pin board. As you can see, I cut this one in half so I could make a demo version first, just to make sure I've got everything sussed out. And we've actually kept the frame because we're going to be using that for another craft sometime in the future. Okay, so you've got your cork board. You want a small pillow or cushion with cotton batting filling. You can also buy this from a craft shop. Now you don't need too much, just enough to cover your board in a nice thin layer. You can get them from craft shops. If you've got any old toys that you don't want, you can use the stuffing from them. But I just used an old pillow. Okay. Ooh. You will also need some fabric. We've got a duvet cover. Well, this is cut from a duvet cover. I let the little one choose this by herself. That's what she wanted, so that's what we got. You'll need some fabric scissors and some regular scissors if you're going to use backing paper. And of course, backing paper. You don't need to use this, but it just helps neaten up the back of things. You will also need some Yoo-hoo glue. We just get this from the pound shop, but most craft stores will have this. You could also use a glue gun if you like. Makes things a bit easier, dries quicker, that sort of thing. You want some ribbon in a matching or contrasting colour to your fabric. Again, little one chose this. If you're cutting your board, you will need a Stanley knife to cut that. And you also need these. These are split pins or brads, okay? So they just open up at the back like this, if you can see that. Can you see that? Split pins. You can probably get plain split pins from pretty much any stationers, or you can get pretty looking ones from pretty much any craft store. Again, you can get these from the pound shop as well. These are not necessary, but fun and cute. Little tiny pegs. They're so cute, I had to buy them. Again, pound shop or any craft store. You'll also need a tailor's awl or something sharp and pointy to make a hole with. And last but not least, you will need some clothes pegs. If you get thicker ones, they're much better as they will hold everything together. Right, so let's get started, shall we? Okay, let's just move everything out of the way first. So, can you see, let's see if I can push you back. Just bear with me 1 second. Try and not knock everything over. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see everything better now. Right, so what we need to do first, so I've already prepared all of my materials, but you'll need to cut your fabric so that it's just a couple of inches bigger than your board all the way around. So as you can see, there's plenty of room around the edges of your board. Don't worry if your edge is tattered, because that will be covered up with fabric. Now, what you need to do is take your Yoo-hoo glue and glue down one edge and fold like so. Okay, if you are using Yoo-hoo glue, you might want the pegs just to hold it in place. If you're using hot glue, it dries pretty quickly, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, you want to trim so you don't have too much excess material left over. Okay, I'm just going to trim that there because it won't look as neat if you have lots of bulky fabric. Okay, just give that a cut. Just bear with me 1 second, my phone is buzzing. Who's buzzing me? Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, so far we've got one edge glued down, okay, and then you also need to glue a second edge. So just to make this easy, I'm going to do the top edge. It doesn't really matter which side you do first, as long as you just glue 2 of your edges down, okay. And as I say, if you're using a glue gun, hot glue, it dries much quicker. But if you're using something like Yoo-hoo, you might want to just peg it in place whilst the glue dries, and whilst you continue with the rest of your craft. So you then want to turn it over. Hi Sam, how's it going? Hope your little one's okay. Right, now you want to peel back the corner here and take your batting fabric, your stuffing, and just spread it out, have it nice and thin. You really don't want it too thick because it just makes it unwieldy. And you just want to stuff it inside the corner piece of fabric, okay? Just make sure it's nice and thin, because if it's really thick, you're not going to be able to get your brads through at the end. That's something I found out earlier when I made the demo version. So you want to stretch it right out, okay? Nice and thin. Right, okay, and you just want to place it on top of the board. You're not stuffing it like you would a toy. You're just layering a nice thin layer on top of the board underneath the fabric, okay? You should be able to feel approximately where you're putting your batting, okay? So again, just spread it out nice and thin. This is actually probably still a bit too thick, but we can spread it out. Hi Alice, thanks for joining me. You've not missed much so far, don't worry. Okay, so far we've glued down 2 sides of fabric on a cork board, and we are now layering stuffing or cotton batting, if you're buying it from craft shop, on top of the board underneath the fabric. Okay, so yeah. Now you want to make sure it's all covered. Okay, you don't want it to be uneven. Or you want it as even as possible. Obviously, you might not get perfect evenness, okay? You can see what I'm doing still. And then once you've done underneath the fabric, you can then continue to do the rest. It's easiest to do it with 2 sides open, because otherwise you're stuffing your arm right down the board and you might tear away the fabric. We need just a little bit more of that. Okay, I love upcycling, and at the moment I've been doing so much upcycling. You could use quilter's batting, yes. You need quite a thin layer, so as long as you can spread it apart, any type of stuffing, something from a stuffed animal that's old. Hi Victoria. Oh, thank you for joining. I'm glad you liked the rag rugs. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a nice thin layer. You really don't want this too thick. As I say, the brads won't go through the material if you go too thick on this. So you need to then cover it up and turn it back around. Okay, and then you can glue your last 2 edges of fabric down. Okay, so just do a nice little squiggle of glue along there. Okay. And you want to, if you pull it nice and tight, it should help flatten out any bulkiness. Okay. So we'll just push that down there. Okay, pull that bit nice and tight. And peg in place. And now for the final edge, don't worry about these flappy bits, we can cut these off later on. Okay, so there's that one. And you have the basis of your board done. Okay, let's just pull that nice and tight. Okay. And one more peg just to keep that bit in place there. Okay, oh, sorry, just need to untuck that a little bit and press it down. Okay, so just make sure all your glue is sticking down. This is much easier with a glue gun, but unfortunately at work I don't actually have access. Wow, Western Australia, that's amazing. Thanks for joining me, Anita. That's fantastic. Okay, so far you have a nice soft covered board, okay? If you want to put some weight on this for a little while and let it settle, that might be a good idea. But if you've pulled your fabric tight enough, it should just start compressing. But as I say, you don't want your layers to be too thick, otherwise the brads won't go through. Okay, so next you need to take your ribbon and your fabric scissors, and you just want to make a nice crisscross pattern. However you feel, literally whatever pattern you want. So I'm going to start by going corner to corner. Now you want to have a good 1.5 inches, maybe even 2 inches of ribbon excess, because this needs to be stuck around the back. You don't have to worry about gluing it down just yet. You also want to have it coming just off the edge. I will show you what I mean in just a second with the board I already made. If you have it on the corners, you won't be able to get it to sit flat. And so if you see here, we're just not quite on the corners, we're just on the edges because it's just easier to fold over and stick down. Okay. Oh, all my notes are falling off that one, that's fine. Okay, and so now, oh, that's a bit of crimped ribbon. So we've got a crisscross on there, which is easy enough. And then we're just going to cross over here. It doesn't have to be perfectly even, however you want to do it. Oh, and we're almost out of ribbon on this one. This is because I did the demo version earlier, just to make sure everything worked. Okay, so we've got that pattern there. I'm going to have to use this crimped up ribbon. Okay, so we've got another piece here. Okay, and well, we've run out of ribbon, unfortunately. So, but I actually, if you could just bear with me 1 second, I can just get some ribbon quickly. Okay, so this isn't matching, but just for the purpose of the demonstration, we're going to pretend that it is. Okay, so we want another one just across there like that. If you cut your ribbon at an angle, it helps to prevent fraying. If you can see that, it's just at an angle. Okay, now there you go, you can see that all laid out in a nice crisscrossing pattern. Now what you want to do is take all your, so just figure out where you want all of your ribbons. figure out how you want it all laid out, and then take your ribbons off, except for your first piece. And if you're using pegs, you'll want to adjust your pegs just to hold the ribbon in place while you flip the board over. Okay, so we're going to turn over to the back and get our glue. Okay, so now, as I say, don't go over the corner because it won't be as neat. So you just want a little bit of glue, spread it over the ribbon, and then peg it in place. And then go to the opposite end. Okay, bit of glue there. And if you pull it nice and tight, yeah, and then just peg that in place until the glue dries. Okay, oh, there goes my lid. So there we go, we've got one in place so far. Now, so your next ribbon, where's the next long one? Here we go. So that goes across the other diagonal, just like so. If we just hold that in place with the peg. And let's bring this peg around here. Actually, it's a good idea to use pegs even if you're using hot glue, because then you can flip it over without it falling off. Okay, and as I say, don't worry about these excess bits of fabric. You can just chop those off and then you cover your board later on and you won't be able to see any of it. Just don't cut too far across because you might ruin the whole thing and have to start all over again. But we're not going to worry about that just now. So we're just, okay, so again, we're going just slightly away from the corner so it goes across nice and neat. Oh, that's done it, hasn't it? I've cut the edge too short. So don't do that. Don't cut your edges too short. Okay, and then the top one here. Oh. And peg that in place. You could also use fabric glue. You want strong glue rather than Pritt Stick or PVA, as that won't stick as well. Okay, so now we've got a lovely little crisscross on there. Yeah. Okay, so we just keep repeating that process with all of your other pieces. Peg in place. Hopefully we've got enough pegs to do this. I'm sure we will have. So flip it over again. Okay. Nice little generous dab of glue. Pull it nice and tight and peg in place. Where's the other one? There we go. Okay. And there. Okay, nice and tight, and peg that in place. As I say, if you're using hot glue, you won't need to worry about the pegs because that dries almost instantly. Okay, what have we done here? I think I've muddled up my pattern, but never mind. It's all part of the process. Okay, so again, we're going to peg that one down. And glue it in place. You don't have to put too much of this glue on. Yoo-hoo glue is absolutely amazing. I use it for pretty much every craft that I do and I love it. I don't let the kids use the Yoo-hoo though. So if you're doing this with the children, please make sure that you're the one doing the gluing with the Yoo-hoo because it's pretty strong stuff. I get it all over my hands all the time. Yeah, and you don't want, obviously you don't want your children to have this stuff all over their hands. Now, where did the corresponding end of that one go? Oh, down the bottom there, of course. Okay, and so, oh, that was very loud. There's a notification telling me I have no viruses. Thanks for that, computer. I'm glad I have no viruses. Okay, so you can now see how it's starting to take shape. Yeah, now we want the last 2 pieces. So we're going to go here. We're just going to meet up with this one on this side. And here, we're just going to cross over again. As I say, you can do any pattern. You want crossovers though, because that just makes things stay on a little bit easier. Okay, we can take that peg off now, that end's dry. And there we go. Other one is just at the top here. Okay, pull it nice and tight. Little dab of glue. And peg. Okay, how are we doing so far? Okay, can we see that? Really cool. Okay, and now the bad ribbon. This one, we just run out of ribbons, so we're just going to make it up as we go along. And we're going to join that bit, that one there. Oh. On the plus side, at least we'll be able to see where this one came. And we're going to join that one up there. Okay, flip it over again. You could, theoretically, you could peg it all down when you first started and then just keep it on the back and just lift each peg off as you glue down. They say that hindsight is 20/20, don't they? Obviously I didn't think about that at the time, but there you go. So that last piece there, and take your peg and peg it in place. Okay, so now you have the basis of your board all good and ready. My lines are not as straight as I would like them to be, but that's another story. Okay, now you need to take your brads or split pins, okay, and you need your tailor's awl, if you can see that. And what you want to do is at every intersection where one ribbon crosses another, you want to make a hole and pop a brad through. Now, be careful with this because, first of all, you don't want to damage the surface underneath. And if, like me, you're putting your hand underneath, you don't want to stick the awl through your hand. Because believe me, it hurts. I already tried. Okay, so push that hole right the way through and just carefully extract the awl. Try and keep everything in place because sometimes the brads get bent, okay? It's very soft metal. And what you do is you just push it all the way through and take either your fingernail or your awl. Oh, we've lost the hole. No, I think we're going to have to try that one again. Never mind. Sometimes you'll lose the hole and end up with a bent brad. But don't worry, you can just straighten it back out and start again. So just find your holes nicely lined up. Okay, and push them through. You'll see they will just about reach the back. And you either want to get your nail in there or your awl and push, open the pins out and push them as flat as you can. Now you want them pressed right in, okay? If you can see there, it's pushed in quite far. And then if you can see on the back, hopefully you can see there, where are we? Here. You can just about see how we've opened up the back there, okay? And you want to be doing that on each of your intersections, okay? And when you are dry, I will use my pre-made version for this. Let me just pop everything off here. When you are dry, you can take off your pegs and there is your finished product. Okay, and you can use these to display all sorts of things. So we've got cute little thank you card there. That's really cute. So we're going to stick that on here. We've got more thank you cards, again, super cute. Pop that there. We've got, let's see, we've got drawings that the children have done. Okay, we can pop that in. We've got the website of the person you're watching right now and my email address, just in case you want to take a note of it. We can pop that in there too. Okay. Cute little love notes. Let's go for that. We've got fun things that we've been to do. We went to see the Gifford Circus at the Victoria and Albert Museum the other day. It was so much fun. And how's about some homework even? Stick some homework in there too. Okay. And how about that? So super easy to make. Oh, actually, we could also, this was at the request of the little one, we could also just put our sunglasses there, because if you're like me, you always lose your glasses. If you can see those, okay? And if you have multiple things, so here we have some Kidzania money, okay? If you have multiple things you want to put together, simply use one of your tiny little cute adorable pegs. Peg it all together like so, and just slip that in. Okay, and there you have it. Really easy, really cute, and upcycling. There we go. That's about it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, especially thank you for joining from Australia. I mean, that is just amazing. And to everybody else, of course, always a pleasure to have you watching my live videos. I will be putting a demonstration on my blog. You can find that on my page. It's in my About Me section. I will also be sharing it on Instagram. Come and follow me on Instagram at Nanny Kimbo. I'm also at Nanny Kimbo on Twitter, and I have a YouTube page too, Nanny Kimbo. I have all sorts of craft ideas. Sometimes I put something up that I don't do live. So if you don't tune in live on Facebook, don't worry, because you can see pretty much everything on YouTube anyway, and also on my blog. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you again soon. Bye-bye.